Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, let's start today's session. Last week we covered the signs of no, we covered the life after death. So we spoke about barzakh and what happens after a person passes away. Okay, today we're going to discuss the signs of Qiyamah. Today we're going to discuss the signs of Qiyamah. Okay, today we're going to discuss the signs of Qiyamah. So beliefs regarding the Day of Judgment. As you may be aware that in the previous, I think probably session one we discussed the seven kalimas, the seven statements that a person should believe in to be a Muslim, and one of them was to believe in the Day of Judgment, to believe in the Day of Judgment. So to believe in the Day of Judgment and the afterlife is essential for Iman. It's essential for Iman, and one needs to believe in this in order to be a Muslim. Okay, that differentiates us from other religions, because some religions believe in afterlife. I believe the Jews do, and in some religions they don't believe in the afterlife. So belief number one. So the various events which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet ﷺ has informed us of will occur before the advent of Qiyamah. So the Day of Judgment will occur, but before the Day of Judgment, certain things will happen which have been foretold in the Hadith by the Holy Prophet ﷺ. They are known as the signs of Qiyamah. And in Arabic, they are known as Ashratus Sa'ah. So yeah, there are two types of signs. We have the major signs and we have the minor signs. So the minor signs are those that have been foretold by the Holy Prophet ﷺ. The first sign was the birth of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. And some of the others are the conquest of Baytul Muqaddas. Now, the conquest of Baytul Muqaddas did happen in the time of Salahuddin Ayyubi. Salahuddin Ayyubi rahmatullahi alayhi, he led the conquest of Baytul Muqaddas, which is based in Palestine, in Jerusalem. So that has already happened. Number two, ignorance of deen will increase greatly and knowledge of deen will rapidly decrease. So there won't be much interest about learning about the religion, learning about Islam. And unfortunately, we live in a day and we live in a time where people don't have much interest towards the knowledge of Islam. Despite the fact that the knowledge of Islam, the more knowledge you have, the better position you are in. The better position you are in to recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to act upon the religion itself. Number three, consumption of intoxicants will become common. Regarding intoxicants, again, unfortunately, we live in a time where we see Muslims as well who actually drink alcohol in the literal sense, and also not only that, but we have products and items which are widely available in the supermarket which do have alcohol in them. And I do remember on my previous trip to Saudi Arabia, where in supermarkets they were actually selling drinks which had the same name of an alcohol brand, but it said 0% alcohol. I mean, I just don't really understand what the point of that is. Anyway, so consumption of intoxicants will become common. That includes alcohol, includes drugs, and so on and so forth. Okay, number 4, fornication and adultery will become rampant. Shame and modesty will be eliminated. Um, before having relationships before marriage, that's again, it's become really, really common practice. Again, this is also a sign of the day of judgment. Number 5, speaking lies will become common. Sometimes people think it to be an art. They think it's a part of intellect, and it's cleverness to to lie and betray somebody. Number 6, the female population will increase. Again, this is it's a minor sign before the day of judgment, and there is a hadith which states that there'll be so many women in the world that people, um, they they won't be the ratio of males to females will be very, very vast. There'll be a massive difference. Now, what I want to remind you of is, because somebody might have an objection here, you know all the day of judgments, it doesn't mean that they're a bad thing. Some of the day of judgments have bad aspects, but not all the day of judgment, not all of the signs of the day of judgment are a bad thing. Okay. Number 7, dancing, singing, and musical instruments will become rampant. Okay, again, I think most of these are self-explanatory, not something I need to go into detail about, because that's happening everywhere. It actually happens. It starts from school, where they're given music lessons, and then the kind of passion uh, a person creates in them. You know, we live in a Western country, unfortunately, and a lot of this does take place. Okay. Number 8, speaking lies will be regarded as a profession. A classic example of this is a lawyer. Now, working as a lawyer is not impermissible; it's allowed. But if a lawyer is going to lie, then that aspect of the job will not be permissible, because lying is not permissible. Simple as that. Number 9, people will be disobedient to their mothers and subservient to their wives. So again, that's being disobedient to one's parents. Again, we see that many times. We see nowadays kids, the anger they have, they talk back to their parents. All this is a sign of the day of judgment. Number 10, people will regard their fathers as strangers and regard their friends to be their close associates. We see this many times. I mean, in this time, we see that in one household, mother, father, brother are sitting in one household, and there's hardly any attention being paid to each other. Everybody's on their smartphone, everybody's on their iPad and tablet, and so on and so forth. So, and when it comes to friends, a person gets really excited. So it's about priorities, prioritizing blood relations over others. Okay. Number 11, the immoral, evil, and the worsening character will assume the reins of power and government. I'm nobody to judge, but I mean, having Donald Trump in power for 4 years in the United States of America, that again, that shows us that certain people who have no knowledge of the profession, they can come to power. That's again a sign of the day of judgment. Number 12, public funds will be regarded as private property. Um, that can apply to utility bills as well. I mean, I've seen it in other countries, for example, in India, where they do they do very silly things in order to not pay their bills. So this is all about public funds. Again, that applies to benefits. Um, People work and they claim at the same time from the government. Number 13, oppression will become the order of the day. So we see in the United States of America, we always see that their aim is to have control over other countries. So oppression is becoming rampant. And there's so many examples which we can actually go through. Okay, people will desire death due to the evil and practices that will become rampant. There's a hadith which actually says that there'll be so much oppression in the world that a person will wish, when they go to a graveyard, they will wish that they were in the grave, they were dead in the grave instead of being alive. That's how much oppression will take place. Number 15, zakat will be regarded as a fine or penalty. You may or may not know that it's an obligation upon every Muslim to pay 2.5% of his or her wealth when they acquire a certain amount, and that's known as the zakat. So the zakat will be regarded as a fine or penalty, and people will find it difficult to pay zakat. Number 16, the latter people of the Ummah will speak ill of the previous people. So the latter people meaning our predecessors. So those who are known to be God-fearing people will start talking ill about them. For example, the Shias, they spoke ill about the Sahaba. People will extend their businesses to such an extent that they will bring their women folk into the business to assist them. Again, like I said, it's not a bad thing, but this, because the whole role of women in Islam is that the husband should provide. If the husband is not alive, then the father will provide. If the father is not alive, then the brother will provide. So Islam doesn't make an obligation for women to work, but if they choose to work and it's halal earning, then it's fine. Salam will only be made with those that one knows. Again, we see that many times. Salam is only made with those that we actually recognize. Control of the disbelievers will be established all over. We see that today. Even the Muslim countries which are being ruled by Muslims. How faithful are they in their religion? We don't see many good Islamic countries. There will be an increase in natural disasters such as earthquakes and hurricanes, and we see that many times. Even in the UK, there have been minor tremors, minor earthquakes. There's always earthquakes in other parts of the world. These are all signs of the Day of Judgment. Okay, so we've kind of covered the minor signs. Let's now go on to the major signs. Right, okay. So regarding the major signs, the signs will start with the coming of Imam Mahdi, and they will end when Israfil alayhi salam will blow the trumpet on the Day of Judgment. So it's a very vast time. Many things will occur, and I'm going to try and cover most of them. Maybe not in detail, but I'll try and cover most of them. Okay, so the first sign is the coming of Imam Mahdi radiallahu anhu. Imam Mahdi alayhi, right. So first of all, the word Mahdi, what does it mean? So Imam Mahdi, the word Mahdi means rightly guided. It means rightly guided. And there have been people in the past. For example, I spoke about Mirza Ghulam Muhammad Qadiani, who claimed to be a prophet. He claimed to be a prophet, and he then claimed to be a prophet later on. So there have been people who have claimed to be the Mahdi, but the actual signs that take place before the advent of the Mahdi have not taken place. So many such Mahdis have come and will continue to come, but the Mahdi who is mentioned in the Hadith will make his appearance very close to the day of Qiyamah, as told by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He will be from the family of Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha through her son Hassan radiallahu ta'ala anhu. His name will be Muhammad and his father's name will be Abdullah. You could say Mahdi would be like his nickname. Okay, so his name will be Muhammad, his father's name will be Abdullah, and according to one narration, his mother's name will be Amina. Imam Mahdi rahmatullahi alayhi, Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, will not know that he's the Mahdi until he reaches the age of 40 years old. So it could be that he's alive now in the world. It could be that he's alive. But even if if one was to search for him, you would not find him, because he will not know himself that he's the Mahdi until he reaches the age of 40 years old. And then uh, Sheikh Badri al-Mirti, Rahmatullah alayhi, he writes in his book, Tarjaman al-Sunnah, then when he reaches the age of 40, then specific signs will take place which will then lead him to become the Mahdi himself. So until the age of 40, he will not know he's the Mahdi, and there's really no point looking for him, because no one will be able to find him. Okay, and then moving on, I've already discussed that Mirza Qadiani has claimed to be the Mahdi, and many such people who have claimed to be the Mahdi in the past, but they have failed. Okay. Um, he will resemble the Prophet ﷺ in character. He will be from the family of the Prophet ﷺ. He will be tall. He'll have a bright and broad forehead, and he will have a long, high bridged nose. He will be born in Medina and reside therein. He will emerge at the age of 40, like I just mentioned in the Tarjaman al-Sunnah. Until the age of 40, he will not know himself. A group of awliya called Abdal. There are certain pious people around the world known as Abdal. And because of these Abdal, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps the world intact. Every time one of these Abdals pass away, another takes his place. So these Abdal will be the ones who will actually recognize the Mahdi. They'll recognize him while he's making tawaf, and they will pledge bay'at allegiance to him. A number of battles will be fought with the disbelievers under his rulership. He will eventually be victorious. During his reign, Islam will flourish. He will remove the treasures buried under the Kaaba and distribute them amongst the Muslims. He will be the first to rule over the Arabs and the entire world, and he will be under his rule. He will restore peace and justice around the world. All his actions will be in accordance to the Sharia of the Prophet ﷺ. So he will be from the nation of the Prophet ﷺ, and he will be well versed with the Sharia. During his lifetime, during his lifetime, Dajjal will appear. Isa ﷺ will also appear, and he will perform his first salah behind the Mahdi. There's a hadith that mentions that if there was even one day left, and the Mahdi, one day left before the day of Qiyamah actually occurs, and the Mahdi has not yet appeared, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make that day so long that Mahdi appears, he does what he needs to do, he will fulfill his responsibilities, and then Qiyamah shall occur. So without Mahdi appearing, Qiyamah cannot occur. So it's a major sign. And Ibn Hajar Makki rahmatullah alayh, he has written a sign where he's listed up to 200 signs before the Imam Mahdi will appear. So to refute the fact, again we're talking about belief here, to refute the fact that Mahdi will not appear will be against the correct belief. Allama Suyuti rahmatullah alayh has also written a book, a very detailed book. It's in Arabic. I don't know if the English version is available or not. And again, it describes the signs of Imam Mahdi. So what kind of signs will appear before he actually is known as the Mahdi? He's recognized as the Mahdi. So he will be sent at a time of intense disputes and differences among people, and earthquakes. Earthquakes are already happening. And at that time, before he actually arrives, people will be very, very confused. And they'll have questions, and where they'll be asking that will Allah, has the Prophet ﷺ said anything about this in the hadith? There'll be a battle that takes place in Mina. There is a narration that mentions in the month of Dhul Qa'dah, there'll be tribes that will fight. The Hajis at that time who have gone for Hajj, they'll be looted in Mina, and there'll be a lot of bloodshed at that time. Number 3, the river Euphrates will disclose a mountain of gold. I think this river is located somewhere in Iraq. Not 100% sure, but the river Euphrates will disclose a mountain of gold. Is it a literal meaning or is it a secondary meaning? Allah Ta'ala knows best. But the hadith does mention that um, those people who go and find the gold, out of every 100 people, 99 will be murdered. Only one person will be successful in claiming that gold. So the river Euphrates is actually between Syria and Iraq. Um, yeah, okay. Number four. Number four is the emergence of the Sufyani. Sufyani is a descendant of Abu Sufyan. He will also emerge before the Imam Mahdi from the depths of Damascus, Dimashq, which is in Syria, the capital of Syria. Um, he will be a tyrant, and he'll be a murderer, and he'll kill a lot of children, he'll kill a lot of families, and a lot of problems will occur when he actually appears. Number five, a person called Haris al-Harrat and Mansur, they will appear. Number six, an army will perish in Bayda. All this has been mentioned in the hadith. Bayda again it's a piece of land next to Medina facing the direction of Mecca. Number seven, a voice in Ramadan will awaken sleeps and alarm those that are awake. The earth will swallow a village near Damascus, and an army with black banners will come from the east. So none of these have actually taken place yet, but they will take place before the Imam Mahdi actually appears. Um, yeah, I mean, if you'd like more detail about this, there are many books you can go through, and there's a lot of detail regarding the wars that will take place. There'll be the conquest of Constantinople. There'll be many blessings that take place while Imam Mahdi is still alive. Um, there is a narration that mentions that there'll be so much blessings at that time that um, the lions and the sheep, they'll have no problems with each other. There won't be no fighting. Um, there'll be pomegranates, massive in size, where a family could eat from one pomegranate to their fill. There'll be many blessings, and he'll reign as the Khalifa, and everybody at that time, Muslims especially, will be rich. They'll be so rich that people will be finding others to accept their zakat. They'll find nobody who would accept their zakat. Okay, so it's a major sign. This will happen. Okay, the next sign is the appearance of the Dajjal. Again, this has a lot of detail. So, what does the word Dajjal mean? Dajjal is an Arabic word. It comes from the Arabic word Dajjal, and Dajjal means to deceive, to cheat. And this is exactly what the Dajjal will do. Dajjal will deceive. Hence, Dajjal, which is an Arabic verb form. When something is increased, the Dajjal would mean an absolute liar, an absolute imposter. And the hadith does mention that there will be 30 liars in my ummah. Each one will claim to be a prophet, and the Prophet has said that I am the last prophet. And the last of them will be the actual Dajjal himself. So you could say that 29 of them will be the minor Dajjal, and then the actual Dajjal will appear. The Prophet has said, between the creation of Adam alayhi salam and the coming of the last hour, there's nothing more severe than the coming of the Dajjal, because the Dajjal will be an absolute test. He'll be a test for everybody, whether they're Muslim or non-Muslim. The Prophet has warned his ummah that the Dajjal would not appear among people until they would forget about him, and until the Imams would stop mentioning him in the masjid. Now, I personally think this is a very important hadith. and which also indicates that when it says that the Dajjal will appear when everybody forgets about him, and when the Imams will stop mentioning him in the mimbar, on the mimbar, then I think it's our duty that we make those aware who have no knowledge about the Dajjal. And not only that, if we have children, we let children know about the Dajjal, and they pass on this knowledge about the Dajjal to their coming generations, because Dajjal will come at a time when there's a lot of confusion. People won't know about the Dajjal. And that's why when the Dajjal appears, people will be so confused. And when he, when he performs such magic tricks, they'll believe that he's God, because they'll have no knowledge about the Dajjal. And at that time, even if somebody has knowledge, it'll be a very small minority. So it's our duty that we pass on this information to our kids and so on and so forth. Okay, the Dajjal mentioned in the hadith will appear during the time of Hazrat Mahdi alayhi salam, and he'll be from a Jewish tribe. And even now, even now, the Jews are waiting for somebody called the Antichrist. They're waiting for the Messiah, and in actual fact, they're actually waiting for the Dajjal. The Christians, they are also waiting for their savior, and that would be Isa alayhi salam, who will reappear, and he'll confirm to them that I am in actual fact the excuse me, I'm in actual fact the apostle and the prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And okay, so the Dajjal mentioned in the hadith will be from a Jewish tribe. He will be known as the Masih. He will be one-eyed. His hair will be curly. On his forehead will be inscribed the letters Kafara, which clearly means that he's a kafir. So now, you could have a question in your mind. So when it says kafir on his forehead, how can a person be deceived? The answer could be, because again, the Dajjal hasn't appeared, so we don't know for sure. The answer could be that the stronger your faith is in your heart, the more likelihood is that you'll be able to recognize that this person is the Dajjal. And those people who have weak iman, they have weak faith in their heart, they will not be able to recognize that this guy is the Dajjal. He'll be a young guy. This is the stamp of kufr which appears on his forehead. He will go to Asfahan. Asfahan is a city in Iran, it still exists, where 70,000 Jews will become his followers. Like I said, those will be those people who are awaiting their Messiah. They're awaiting their Messiah, who will be the Dajjal. He will lay claim to divinity. He'll actually claim to be a prophet first. And when he'll claim to be a leader first, then a prophet. When he claims to be a prophet, he will not be able to perform any miracles. He'll not be able to perform any miracles, and he will when he claims to be God, then he will be able to perform such tricks. He'll spread a lot of corruption on the earth, and 2 years before his appearance, there will be severe drought to test the believers. Allah Ta'ala will allow him to demonstrate many supernatural feats, many magic tricks. Just this will be a massive test for the believers. Okay, we're running out of time for our initial 40 minutes. So if you guys don't mind, can you log off and log on, please? Jazakallah.